All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we are decoding the absolute chaos and stunning reveals of the Season 4 finale of the hit show From. We're going to operate a bit like a survival map today, peeling back the town's darkest secrets, unraveling all that dense lore, and figuring out exactly where our favorite characters stand after that unbelievable climax.
Here's a quick roadmap for today. We'll start with a breakdown of the Season 4 finale, take a close look at Boyd, Victor, and the Man in Yellow, dive into the real-world folklore behind the show's lore, explore some wild fan theories, and finally ask, will they ever actually escape?
Remember who I was? Man, this tragic, terrifying plea from Fatima, uttered right before her complete Gollum-like transformation, it just perfectly anchors the catastrophic stakes of our story right now. I mean, we literally watched her heart rate plummet to a chilling 19 beats per minute as those necrotic spider veins completely consumed her torso. It was a totally heartbreaking moment, and it completely shifted the entire paradigm of the town.
And that really brings us to the ultimate question we're going to try to answer today, looking at all the evidence left behind in the chaotic aftermath of Season 4. Has anyone ever truly escaped, or are they all just moving from one cage to another?
Okay, Part 1, our Season 4 finale breakdown.
When you actually look at the exact timeline of the finale, you can see exactly how the chaos was synchronized. The whole thing hinges on this one daring plan. As Boyd's surface team uproots the teleporting bottle tree during Hour 1, the sky instantly turns pitch black in the middle of the day. And of course, this allows the monsters to move freely. Smiley breaches the clinic, totally ignoring those protective talismans that got knocked down by the earthquake, and tragically slaughters Marielle. Down below, the tunnels just cave in on Jade and Tabitha as they're trying to collect the Inkway children's bones. Why? Because Sophia intentionally sabotages their escape ladder. And then, Fatima fully transforms, using this terrifying monster's shriek to command the creatures and save her friends. It's just wild.
Moving into Part 2, Boyd, Victor, and the Man in Yellow.
So on one side of this conflict, we've got Boyd Stevens. He's this logical, desperate center, right? He's relying on rules and strategy, just trying to hold the town together. But on the flip side is the Man in Yellow. This is an ancient saboteur, currently using Sophia's disguise to unleash chaotic blood magic from within the town itself. This entity actually manipulated Victor's father, Henry, into a severe psychotic break. But here's the thing, that attack wasn't random at all. It intentionally targeted Victor. Why? Because Victor is the town's true anchor. As the oldest living resident, Victor actually holds the fragmented historical knowledge required to defeat the town, which makes him the absolute biggest threat to the Man in Yellow's control.
Let's pivot to Part 3, the real folklore behind the lore.
Here is a really crucial point. Victor's mother, Miranda, she wasn't just decorating the town with random junk, she was actively weaponizing real-world folklore. This practice actually traces back to the Bakongo people of Central Africa. In their tradition, glass bottles hung on trees are used to trap traveling evil spirits. The spirits get drawn in by the reflected light and then they're destroyed by the morning sun. And the color blue? That specifically represents the boundary between the living and spirit worlds in Congo cosmology. So Miranda was literally building a navigation system and trapping malevolent entities right at the threshold between worlds.
So every single time a blue bottle appears, it's a deliberate signal telling us that the town isn't just arbitrary chaos. It's a system with ancient rules, and Miranda was desperately trying to decode them. She placed the faraway tree right at a boundary threshold, using numbers on papers inside those bottles as literal coordinates. She was absolutely not a passive victim. She was fighting back using an ancient spiritual operating system.
All right, Part 4, Fan Theories on the Town.
Okay, so one massive theory that is just taking the fandom by storm right now is the cyclical sacrifice deal. This heavily implies that the monsters, the ones Fatima now seemingly commands, are actually the original inhabitants of the town. The idea here is that they sacrificed their children in exchange for immortality, but, surprise, surprise, the deal was cursed. Now they are doomed to repeat this cycle of suffering as nocturnal predators. Honestly, this perfectly explains why the Inkway children are trapped and why the town seems to constantly demand an influx of fresh victims.
There's another really compelling hypothesis suggesting some heavy Celtic influence. You know those creepy scarecrows we've seen? Well, they act a lot like tatty bogles, which in Celtic lore were designed to keep children away from monsters and stop famine. And they're overseen by Morrigan, the goddess of death, who is always represented by crows. Sound familiar? Alternatively, some fans propose the town is a collective hallucinogenic bad trip in a lower hellish realm, which is supported by characters experiencing altered states of consciousness. Or, perhaps most chillingly, It's a world manifested entirely by Ethan's imagination. It acts like a dark, twisted game where the rules constantly shift based on a child narrator.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 5. Will they ever escape?
We actually have some hard evidence to look at here. Remember when Tabitha was pushed from the lighthouse by the boy in white? She woke up in St. Anthony Hospital in the real world. But because Tabitha's physical escape merely pulled her right back into the nightmare as the season progressed, it pretty much confirms that simply finding the right road or portal is not enough. The town is like a living story. You literally can't just walk off the page.
True freedom actually requires a complete dismantling of the town's foundation. Step 1 is simply escaping the physical boundary. Step 2 requires actually freeing the trapped souls of the Anquite children. And finally, Step 3 means someone has to resolve that ancient blood debt to reverse the supernatural bargain entirely.
As we look toward the final season, we really have to ask ourselves a terrifying question. If the town requires a sacrifice to function, and breaking the cycle requires a massive supernatural toll, it seems the ultimate price for the town's freedom is going to be paid entirely in blood. Someone might have to make the ultimate sacrifice and become the eternal warden, just to ensure the others can finally go home. The town has meticulously deconstructed the residents' hope, and whatever answers they find in those dark tunnels, they definitely won't come cheap. So, who do you think will be left behind when the final tree falls?